Good evening. Before I start, I want to be very clear about something. This is not a fear video. It's not a prediction video, and it's certainly not a call to panic. Just a heads up, that's all. Over the last several days, a lot of people have probably noticed that multiple stories, stories that really don't seem related on the surface, have all started moving at the same time. When that happens, I personally slow down and start paying more attention, not emotionally, but analytically. One of those things is the renewed attention around the Epstein material. And I'm not here to litigate that, speculate on it, or tell you what to think about it. What matters to me isn't the details, but it's the timing. Historically, when uncomfortable information resurfaces, it often coincides with other events that dominate attention. At the same time, we're seeing increased activity and tension in the Middle East, particularly involving Iran. There have been reports of electronic interference, speculation about defense systems, unusual cargo traffic patterns, and recent explosions. As of right now, there's no confirmed narrative tying all of that together, and I want to be very careful about that. Speculation is not the same thing as awareness. What is observable, though, is posture. Military assets positioned closer, aircraft on short notice readiness, hot pit refueling status, and that just means the aircraft are fueled while the engines are still running to minimize their downtime. It's important to understand something here. Readiness, it doesn't automatically mean intent, but readiness does mean capability. Now here's where I want to zoom out, just for a moment, because this part matters more than any single headline. A lot of people still think about conflict in terms of older models. Troops, borders, bombs, and timelines. But that's not how modern conflict works anymore. We've moved well beyond that. Most analysts agree we've been in what's called fifth-generational warfare for some time now. That's where influence, information, psychology, cyber operations, and narrative control become the primary battlefield. In fifth-generational warfare, the goal isn't necessarily to defeat an enemy, it's to confuse, divide, distract, and exhaust a population. Kind of like the not-so-organic protests popping up everywhere. But here's the shift that doesn't get talked about enough. There really isn't a clean line between 5th and 6th generational warfare, but there is a change in focus. You see, 5th generational warfare primarily targets minds. 6th generational warfare increasingly targets systems, or systems like power grids and communications, finance, logistics, navigation, and even data integrity. We can absolutely say we've been seeing signs of that. The things people rely on every single day without even thinking about them. And the reason this matters is because in this kind of environment, distance no longer equals safety. A country doesn't have to put boots on the ground to cause disruption. Conflict doesn't have to be declared to have real-world effects. And not every disruption is even meant to be permanent. Sometimes it's just a probe or a test or even a demonstration of capability. That is why things can feel a little bit off without anything obvious happening. So when I talk about preparedness, I'm not talking about panic buying, not talking about dramatic reactions. I'm talking about something actually much more boring and much more effective. Knowing where your flashlights are, that's a biggie, right? It sounds so little, so simple, but it's bigger than what you think. Having your basic backups in order. Make sure you know where everything's at, make sure everything's in order and good to go. Understand your dependencies. Staying informed without being consumed is very important. Preparedness isn't fear, it's friction reduction. And awareness isn't paranoia. It's simply refusing to be caught flat-footed. And that's all this video is meant to be. No conclusions, no predictions, just a reminder to say, hey, pay attention to timing, keep your fundamentals squared away. Alright, pretty simple stuff. That's it. Hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you soon. Shalom.